cohesion policy has to maintain focus, because that's the one most effective long-term investment instrument that the European Union has, and over decades it has shown its efficiency and the value added it brings. So just to give you a few numbers, last year we stood at virtually zero in terms of real GDP growth, which was not too good, but not too bad also, given the shocks that we are facing. And this year we're coming back to growth. We're growing at about 2.3% in real terms. This to be strengthened further next year, closer to 3%. So, the economy is pretty resilient, but doesn't mean that the challenges are not there. Of course, we are still receiving inward FDI, but not at the scale just as it could have been without the war, so to say. So the trend is a bit different. Then you need maybe public instruments to fill the void. And if you look at the macro numbers, our exports nosedived in last year. So we had negative export growth, which is not good news for a small open economy as Lithuania. And now the big chunk of that decrease in exports came from re-exports. That is basically taking goods from Western Europe and bringing them to Eastern markets, which were either lost or sanctioned. I guess the best strategy how to reassure, especially foreign investors, is to treat our own security in a very serious manner, which we do, to increase our defense spending, to make sure that we are ready to defend if any need arises, because then you have a safe environment in which the investors can come. There's no question about that. Even when war ends, at some point, we will still be living, close to Russia and Belarus. So that's basically the aggressor country. So the regions will still be bordering them, and the problematics will remain in terms of their hampered economic and social convergence. And we need some European instruments, primarily cohesion policy, to actually deal with it, to try to mitigate these effects, to help promote investment, to help promote businesses, to ensure talent attraction so that people could come and stay in those regions, to ensure their economic viability. You have to invest more money into interconnections, cross-border interconnections between countries, so basically getting us more integrated by both hard and digital infrastructure within the single market. You have to invest into resilience of supply chains and the resilience of, so to say, value chains, which basically means getting more deeply involved and integrated into the single market, fostering economic connections with democratic, trustable governments in Europe and beyond. And then I think also where European funds and cohesion policy can play a role is providing additional impetus on innovation financing, so that our economies would move to higher value added, which would then also increase their resilience and reduce maybe vulnerabilities to future shocks. So I guess these are big things, structural things, not just easy to fix, but I guess this is the direction where cohesion policy should be going.
One of the issues that's been raised by some people is that there could be new financing revenue generation instruments in support of EU defense and in support of Ukraine. There's talk of eurobonds for kind of defense capacity and so on. Do you think that's a plausible outcome?
We would be open to explore possibilities for ad hoc potential borrowing instruments at the EU level to help find additional resources maybe in a more timely manner, not to wait just for the next MFF, which will take a while to negotiate, take a while to kick in practice. So we're open, and when we've been raising the issue in the European formats for some time now. Let's see how it goes. But I feel that if there is a place where countries could and should shift the red lines, that is defense, because that's a common thing for all of us. We have very good economic cooperation with Germany and increasing military cooperation links. So I think it's a matter of dialogue and a bit of matter of time for them to understand, for all the European partners to understand our complexities and where we are in the region. And I wouldn't support, I guess, the discussion going into the direction of making cohesion policy more rigid, less flexible, and less adaptive. I guess that's not the way we should go. We should maintain the flexibility, the adaptability, because that is part of the success of this cohesion policy. The financing gap for Ukraine is increasing for next year, and Europe has a responsibility to help Ukraine so that it would have enough funding to keep the economy going, to keep the military going. And the element that we find very important is that we need to have G7 partners on board too, the United States and other G7 partners. And for them to be on board, they have indicated that they need some additional assurances when it comes to our sanctions regime. So of course, we and the majority of member states around the table okay with what has been proposed by the Commission to adapt and enhance the sanctions regime. So far, we have not been able to reach an agreement among all of the member states. I hope that we will manage to do so in the upcoming weeks. Because, as I said, time is ticking, and we don't have the luxury of waiting until whatever end of the year to try reflect what we can do. I hope that we will manage to reach some sort of an agreement with the Hungarian presidency on how we can enhance the sanction regime, and I hope that Hungary will see it and we will be able to find an agreement. I think that at some point in time we will inevitably have to have a tougher discussion. Potentially as part of reparations to Ukraine, to actually seize the assets that are now frozen within the EU and provide them as part of the reparation package to Ukraine. But that's probably a question for the future. We have the first round of elections, parliamentary elections, this Sunday, so pretty soon. We'll see what the results are. But my take is that on the key strategic and fundamental issues, be it security or foreign policy or outlook towards the EU, we should not have dramatic changes.